Hi everyone, I'm Chef Susie with the Cafe Online and welcome to our live session this morning. Today I'm going to be making brittle. It's super easy and just a few ingredients. We're going to be cooking some sugar on the stove, then we'll be adding our nuts. This will be ready to go. These are great for gifts, and with the holiday season coming, you'll be sure to enjoy these. There's a lot of different flavors. You can explore a lot of different things with these brittles. But since our sugar is going to take a little bit, let's go ahead and get this on the stove and then we'll chat about some different flavors, okay? So on the stove right now, I have the sugar and the corn syrup, the light corn syrup and the water. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring this to a boil. It's going to boil for a little while. Keep that in mind. It's going to start to turn like a golden color. We're going to boil this until it's about 240 degrees. Then we're going to go ahead and add our nuts. And then we're going to finish this off up to 300 degrees. And then we'll be adding our baking soda and our vanilla and a little bit of water. And some butter too. Okay. So let's go ahead and get this started. Because like I said, it's going to be boiling for a little while. It's going to take a little time. We're going to watch it while we're talking a little bit. So after this mixture with the nuts in it comes up to 300 degrees, we're going to be adding the baking soda, the vanilla, and the water is to dissolve the baking soda to be sure that it's incorporated in here correctly, because you can get some lumps in your baking soda and they may not always come out in the mixing. So we're going to be diluting it. So I've got baking soda with a little bit of water and some vanilla. Okay, so this is going to go in at the end with the butter. I'm using unsalted butter. For caramel, it's nice to use salted butter as well. You can just explore so many different flavors when you're making these brittles. Okay, and please let me know if you have any questions. Okay, so our mixture is starting to warm up a little bit. It's going to be coming to a simmer. Like I said, this is going to be taking a little while. So we're going to go ahead and turn it up. We don't want this to get too hot. Want to keep an eye on it. I've got my temperature, my thermometer at hand to take the temperature. I'm going to be watching for this to get to 240 degrees. So in the meantime, let's talk a little bit about flavors with our brittles. So our brittle is going to be nice and crisp. It's candy-like. And the baking soda, it adds some flavor to this, and it adds a little bit of depth and color, and it also adds some air too, which is going to make the brittle easier to crack and easier to eat. It's more desirable than if you were just using the straight sugar. There are some recipes that don't call for baking soda in them. Those are fine too. Once you start exploring these recipes, you're going to find a lot of different recipes. So definitely have fun with them. This is just a basic recipe to work off of, but definitely try some others. And I like the brittle recipes with the baking soda in them, but you will see them without baking soda. So this is starting to simmer. We're just going to kind of leave it work on its own since everything is dissolved. Let's go ahead and just give it another little spin to be sure that everything is dissolved. There's not going to be any granulated sugar at the bottom to burn. So it's okay. So this is okay on its own. We're going to just keep an eye on it, and we're going to check the temperature here in just a minute. So let's get back to the flavors. So I'm going to be putting some vanilla in this, this mixture. It's going to give it a nice flavor. You can use any extract. You can even use some candy oils, maybe some oil of cinnamon, really nice. You can even use some powdered cinnamon, some cayenne pepper, really nice. You can give these a little bit of snap. So there's just so many things that you can do with these. Be careful when adding any liquids to this. I've got my liquid vanilla, which is not much. It's just about a teaspoon and a half. But be careful if you're adding liquids to dry things like the nuts are okay. Dried fruits are great. Cherries, raisins, apricots, all those type of things, great for brittles. So today we're going to be adding some cashews to our brittle. These are toasted ahead of time. Then I'm going to sprinkle a few of these nice green pumpkin seeds on top, which have also been toasted ahead of time. You can use any nut mixture. Almonds are nice, especially the whole almonds with the skins look really great. So definitely try some different flavors and textures with your brittles. So I'm seeing a little bit of color, so I just want to check this temperature. Remember, we're looking for 240 degrees. Be very careful. This is very hot. Okay. So we're getting a little bit of color. We're getting up near, over the 100 mark, which is good. We're just going to be keeping an eye on this. Once you do these a few times, you can kind of tell by the color. Be careful that you don't let it go too far because it's going to start to smoke on you too. So as far as, sorry, the thermometer is making quite a bit of noise here. Okay, there we go. Okay. So with these brittles too, some other flavors that you can add to these: chocolate. You can drizzle some chocolate on top after it's set up. You can cover the whole top in chocolate. You can just do so many things. You can put chopped up candies on these. You can put sprinkles. You can really jazz them up for the holidays. So definitely keep this in mind for some gifts for the holiday. You can package them up nicely. Okay. So we're just, we're turning color a little bit, but not quite there. It's going to take a while, so just be patient. Once we add the nuts in the mix, we're going to continually stir it. You can get a little bit of toasting with the nuts if you leave them sit in the bottom, which is okay if you want some toasting, but be careful because they can get too dark. So the nuts are added into the mixture before it's ready because it helps with the toasting. It helps to incorporate them, and it's also a lot easier to mix in when this mixture is still a little looser before it gets to 300-degree mark. So let's go ahead and take our temperature and see where we're at. We're getting there. Okay. Let's have about maybe 20 more degrees to go. And please let me know if you have any questions or if you tried these brittles before. Definitely limitless combinations that you can do with these. As far as extracts, like I said, I've got the vanilla. Orange would be super nice with this. The rum would be nice, even the coconut. You could even use toasted coconut too if you're a coconut lover. Maybe some dried pineapples. There's just so many different things that you can do with the brittles. They set up firm, very hard. Takes about an hour, and then you can just snap them and package them or plate them however you want to serve them. Okay. And be mindful if you're making this. I made some brittle last night on a gas range, and be careful if your flame is coming around the side of your pot. You don't want that because it can actually scorch the outside. You'll see it start to turn real brown around the outside, and that's a telltale sign that you need to mix it real quick and turn your flame down. So just be careful. These electric burners are great to use, and so is gas, but be careful that the flame's not coming around the side. So in a lot of baking, you can really singe things by doing that, especially with your sauces, and this is something that the flame will really affect if it comes around the outside of the pot. Okay, so with sugar, it seems to come to a standstill, and then it just jumps up in temperature as soon as it's ready. So we're going to leave it alone. I turned up the heat a little bit to give it some assistance. So we're just about there. And then we'll be adding our nuts. And then we're going to kick it a little bit more. And then we'll be adding our butter and our mixture with our vanilla and baking soda. And please let me know if you have any questions or even any comments on making brittle while we're waiting for this. Is there going to see, we're going to watch for our color. And these digital thermometers are great, but candy thermometers work good as well. And, you know, just keep an eye on this, watch for the color as well. And hopefully your thermometer is always working good and it's in good shape, but you just never know. Mine's
Chef
saying a
Susie?
little, yes.
Every year I make the brittle, but sometimes it ends up being a really creamy color with lots of bubbles, and other times it ends up nice and clear and it's perfect. What am I doing wrong when it does the other thing?
Okay, so the bubbles are typically from the baking soda, and that's a really good aspect to the brittle because that helps it be not so hard and not so like almost tooth cracking. So the bubbles are good, and the creaminess and the opaqueness could be from what you're adding to your brittle. If you have some brittles have a lot of butter in them, this recipe in particular, I'm only putting 3 tablespoons in, but I've seen brittle recipes for as much as 1 cup of butter in them, and they're the same ratio of sugars as I have here. So you may want to explore a different recipe that has a little bit less butter in it, because I think it's the milk solids in the butter that are turning it a creamy color. So are you using a recipe that has a high butter content in it?
No, it has 3 tablespoons. It's really similar to what you're doing, and all I do is add the sugar, the water, the butter, baking soda, vanilla, and then either peanuts or cashews, and it just seems like it turns out different every time for me.
Okay, well, we'll take a look at this one when it's done, and we'll see how it compares to the one that you're making. And maybe you even need to cut down the butter a little bit if it's too creamy for you. And then it could be a little bit lighter. But these are really opaque, and you may need to cook it a little bit more. Are you bringing it up to 300?
I'm actually not sure. So
Ah, okay, that could be it too. Let me go ahead and add these cashews in here, and we're going to go ahead and mix them in. Make sure that you're mixing these in real good. They can stick together on you. So now, sometimes this part goes fast and sometimes it goes slow. So we're just going to keep an eye on this, and we're going to watch for this to come up to 300 degrees. And then we're going to be pouring this, once our mixture is completely made, we're going to be pouring this onto a silpat. Okay, so let me keep an eye on this and we'll talk more. I think that maybe if yours is a little too light, that you might not be cooking it to 300 degrees. But like I said, we'll take a look at this when it's done, and you can kind of do a comparison to the one that you make and see if you like this better. And you're definitely going to want to invest in a thermometer. It's just a great thing to have in the pastry kitchen, especially for making candies like this. And you can even use it for your sauces. You can use it to temperature your liquid for your yeast. So super handy to have. I definitely recommend it.
I have thermometers, but I think the recipe I use says to boil it for 4 minutes after it comes to an auburn color.
Okay, yeah, some recipes are like that. They just give a time, and you know, everyone's time could be different depending on, you know, the strength of your burner. So I would definitely get a thermometer, and almost every recipe that you're going to see is going to call for first bringing the mixture up to 240 degrees and then finishing it off at 300 degrees. So I think if you get a thermometer, you'll get some consistency, and then you can see maybe you're only bringing it up to 280. That's why it's lighter, and that's okay too. But if you want it to get a little bit darker, bring it up to the full 300 degrees. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on the temperature here. And then we're going to finish this off with our baking soda, water, and vanilla, and lastly, our butter. So I'm just and get kind of tricky with these nuts in here. I can actually smell them toasting as we're talking. So Just want to make sure that this doesn't go too far. I'm going to turn down my fire a little bit. Make sure I can keep it under control. I'm just going to put this in here while I'm gently stirring this and keep an eye on it. But yeah, like I mentioned, definitely invest in a candy thermometer. I think that you'll use it a lot, especially it sounds like you're making this enough where you could really use it. And the times are good on recipes, and that's a really good guide for people that don't have a thermometer. But since you're going to be doing this a little bit often, definitely get one, especially because you're not happy with the color of your brittle. So this is really coming along. It's really getting there. And I just want to make sure that these cashews aren't toasting too much. This get a little tricky with your thermometer here. This mixture is going to be turning just a little bit more golden in color. And like I said, with these sugars, it seems like they're at one temperature for so long and then all of a sudden they just jump up. So this one's got about maybe 10 more degrees, not even to go. It's climbing pretty good for us. Okay, and this is ready. It's reached 300 degrees Fahrenheit. So as you can see, it's a nice like amber golden color. Let's go ahead and add our baking soda and vanilla and water mixture. This may bubble up on you, so be careful when you're adding this. And always keep safety in mind first when you're doing these things. Kind of back off a little bit from the steam. As you can see, I'm using a wooden spoon. I prefer this for my my caramel mixtures like this because the handle's not going to heat up on you. So definitely always keep safety in mind. I recommend making these small batches too. They're just a little bit easier to control. So we're just mixing this in until this butter is melted. And then we're going to be pouring this on a silpat. You can use a greased cookie sheet. That works well too. And I'm just going to sprinkle a few of the green pumpkin seeds on top just because it's just that time of year. Okay, so our brittle is looking really good. And it's going to settle down a little bit with that foaming. Let's go ahead and put it on our silpat. And then we're just going to spread it around. Your pot, you're going to want to soak it in some water. That's going to help with the cleanup. Okay, so our brittle is looking good. I like to spread it around a little bit so it doesn't get too thick. It's a little bit easier to snap. And as you can see, my nuts toasted a little bit there in the bottom. I could actually smell them while we were chatting, but that's okay. It's just going to add a little bit more flavor. Be careful that you don't let them get too dark. So while the mixture is still hot, I'm just going to sprinkle lightly some of these green pumpkin seeds on here. You could even sprinkle chocolate chips. They're going to melt a bit, but that'll just give it a nice effect. Or any nuts will be nice. You could even make the mixture without the nuts and sprinkle all of your nuts right on top. So super easy dessert to make and a great gift. You can package these in tins. You could package this in little plastic bags, or you can, serve it on plates. Let's go ahead and take a look at the brittle that I made earlier that's completely set. This is going to set for about an hour. I know it's hard, but don't touch it because it is so hot you will get burned. Maybe keep a little dish of ice water on your table when you're working on this in case you get a little splash or something on your hand. Then you can dip your hand in the ice water. That'll be helpful to cool it down quickly. Let's go ahead and take a look at the brittle that I made earlier that's completely hard and set. Okay, so here it is. So for the brittle, I don't like to get my fingerprints all over this, so I'm always going to wear my gloves. You can even, you can break this up by hand just like this, or you could use a kitchen, little kitchen mallet, like something like this to break it up. But I like to break mine by hand because I don't like pieces flying around everywhere. So does your brittle look like this one, or is yours lighter in color?
Sometimes it looks like that, and sometimes it just looks like a foamy mess.
Okay, well, I think that getting your thermometer is really going to help you out a lot. And the foaming is from the baking powder, the baking soda. If it's foaming a little bit too much on you, maybe it's not accurate, your baking soda, or maybe at one point your baking soda was more fresh than another time. So if you find that you're having more foaming that you like, go ahead and cut back on the baking soda.
Okay.
So that's okay to do too. You'll see a lot of these recipes, some of them have, like I said, a lot of butter in them. Some have less baking soda than others. So, definitely go ahead and modify your recipe. It's not going to hurt something like this if you change the baking soda a little bit to alleviate some of that foaming. And then your candy thermometer is just really going to ensure that you've got the same temperature every time. You could be off a little bit, like make sure that you get it off the stove when it's just about 1 degree under 300 or 2 degrees, because it's going to keep cooking while you're bringing it over to your counter to add your butter and your baking soda. But I think a thermometer will help you, and then like I said, a little bit less baking soda, but have fun. Try some different recipes with this brittle. You'll love these, and you'll see that they're all different. And like I said, some of them have a lot of butter in them, which I love butter, so I would probably go with the one with more butter in it, and definitely a great flavor. So let's go ahead and put some of these on a plate. And then we're going to say our goodbyes. And I hope that you enjoyed the session on brittle today. Please let me know if you have any questions. Send me some pictures of the brittles that you're making, maybe for the holidays. This is nice with the pumpkin seeds, for the coming Thanksgiving holiday. You can really jazz these up. Chef Susie absolutely loves sprinkles, so some sprinkles on here would be nice too. Add some color. You could go kind of for a little bit more of a natural approach with some whole almonds or maybe some dried fruit. So definitely explore your brittles. And they kind of seem to not want to hold on this plate. So maybe you want to put them in a bowl or even a basket. Like I said, a nice tin would be nice, even a little bag. So thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.